So 5 years ago, I made the decision to go full-time into YouTube. 3 years ago, I hit 10,000 subscribers. In January of this year, 2024, I hit 100,000, and it's currently November 2024, and I'm at 230,000 subscribers, which is insane to me. When I first started doing this, I'd put out videos and I'd be freaking stoked if they got 10 views. Focusing on growing my YouTube channel has completely transformed my life, allowing me to travel the world and meet so many amazing people, as well as work with some of the biggest brands in the world that I legit never thought I would ever get to work with. Recently, I hit the 200,000 mark and I posted it on my Instagram page. And a few people asked me to make a video about just the biggest things I've learned and any tips for anyone trying to grow their own channels. So this is that video. Now, before we get into the first reason, it's important to know kind of how I got here and a small but life-changing decision I made back in 2015 that allowed me to get here. So back in 2015, I graduated high school and pretty much right after took a solo backpacking trip to Iceland. Initially, it wasn't going to be a solo trip, but I couldn't convince any of my friends to go, so I ended up being alone. I had never even left the country before and was absolutely terrified in the beginning. I basically at the time had no money. I think I brought like $600, so I just brought my sleeping bag, a tent, and just hitchhiked around the country. So I spent 10 days seeing the country, meeting incredible people from all over the world, and just experienced this world of travel that I had really only dreamed of. And that single trip is when I decided that this whole life of travel and shooting content, like that's what I want to do with my life. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew that I'd figure out a way. But I was already enrolled in college at the time, so literally 2 days after I got back from this trip, which was this insane life-changing experience, I started going to classes. And honestly, that year was pretty brutal. Growing up, society had taught me that, smart kids go to college and dumb kids don't. So I kind of just suffered through that year, just kept telling myself that after I finish college, then I'll go pursue this career that I actually really want to do. By the end of that year, I kind of realized that the reason that I'm here in school right now isn't because I want to be, it's because other people want me to be. Whether that's society, friends, family, that all was just pushing me to do something that I knew in the end I didn't want to do. So after that, I dropped out. Over the course of that summer and fall, I worked 3 different jobs, just saving up enough money to go out on another trip. So by January of 2017, I was ready to set off on my next adventure, which was a backpacking trip through Southeast Asia, which was basically just the cheapest place on earth to do that. While I was there, I shot as much as I possibly could. I'd make these daily vlogs that I'd shoot all day and then stay up super late in my sweaty hostel bed, cramped, just editing them and putting them together. But I was traveling and shooting content, which was my dream, so I just kept doing it. And this brings me to point number 1, which is if you want to be successful on YouTube, you really have to love whatever you're doing. Especially in the beginning, you're gonna be putting a ton of energy and time into it and getting little to no results as far as views are concerned. And it's super, super easy to get discouraged by all of that. But if it's something you actually genuinely love and enjoy, you're just gonna keep doing it. And as a byproduct, you're going to improve super, super quickly. Like, when you're in school and you have an assignment due, you do the absolute minimum amount of work possible in order to get it in and get it over with. Well, if you actually really enjoy what you're doing, you're gonna spend an insane amount of time doing it. And for that reason, you're gonna get better at it very quickly. You'll get better at filming, you'll get better at editing, and likely along the way, you're gonna meet other like-minded people. When I was in Southeast Asia, in addition to all the editing and shooting and stuff that I was doing, I would constantly reach out to people in the whole travel adventure niche. So for example, if I was in Chiang Mai in Thailand, I'd go on Instagram and I'd look up #Chiang Mai, see if there was any other creators in the area and message them and just be like, hey, do you wanna go on a hike or shoot or do something? And slowly but surely, I built this really amazing community of friends around myself. During that time, I was also reaching out to brands. So eventually I wanted to make money doing this, so I would send 20 emails a day to random brands, just basically asking if we could work together. I wasn't making any money at this point, but I did have a portfolio now that I could share to those brands. So I'd send out all these emails and most of the time, nobody responded. But once in a while, someone would respond, I'd get excited, open it up, and they would say no. And honestly, I was stoked about that because they actually communicated with me. But every once in a while, someone would get back and say, yes, we'd love to work together. And most of the time it was free, But at the time, I was just gaining experience and actually taking steps to make this into a career. This brings me to my second point, which is consistency. When I was first on YouTube, I cranked out those daily vlogs. But like I said, I was finally getting opportunities to do little gigs here and there, which was so cool for me. So I kind of put YouTube aside and started doing a lot more of those. My main channel at this point was Instagram, so I was putting most of my effort towards Instagram. So from 2017 to 2019, I mainly focused on that. But during this time, I started to realize how valuable YouTube was. People who I met who were making YouTube videos were making so much more money than everyone on Instagram. And of course, it's not all about money. It was also the lifestyle that these YouTubers had. They would put together a couple videos per month, as opposed to someone who was creating on social media that was putting out 10 to 20 pieces of content. And I would personally rather work on those longer projects than a bunch of short content that you don't really care that much about. But the reason these people were making a lot more money is because when you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, let's say you spend an hour, you might interact with like 200 different creators. But on YouTube, if you spend an hour there, you'll probably only interact with maybe like 3 to 10 different creators. And each person, you're actually investing like a significant amount of time with that person. So for that reason, advertisers will pay YouTubers much more. So I figured that if I could crack the code to YouTube, it would be much better for me in the long run. So I went all in. In 2019, I made 36 videos. Most got no views at all, and I wasn't making any money from it, but I was making enough money from these other side things that I was doing to kind of sustain myself, or at least pay for like the next trip. So I kept making videos. In 2020, I made 41 videos. And that was the year that I finally cracked 10,000 subscribers. I was kind of finally getting the hang of it a little bit. Still wasn't making much money from it, but I absolutely loved it, so I kept going. By January of 2024, I finally cracked 100,000 subscribers, and like I said earlier in this video, it's November of 2024, and I'm around 230,000 subscribers. That number is completely insane to me. But to get from point A to point B, I had to make so many videos, most of them getting little to no views at all. But a select few of them did. And I wouldn't have had any of those good videos if I didn't have all the bad videos with it. And the key here is just to stay consistent and keep making videos. Hey, what's happening, everyone? So before I get to my next point, I want to talk to you about something that has helped me a ton here on YouTube as a creator, and that is Artlist. If you follow my channel for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about them before because they've been a long-time sponsor of this channel, and I used them well before they were even a sponsor. And even if you've heard me talk about them before, there's some super exciting new updates. But if you're not aware, Artlist is basically a platform that has everything you need to make high-quality videos. They have music, sound effects, stock footage, templates, and plugins. On here on YouTube, you guys are probably aware that once you reach a certain milestone, I think it's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, YouTube will actually pay you to put ads on your videos. But unless you use copyright-free music, you still can't make money on those videos. But Artlist music is copyright-free, which allows you to make money on YouTube. So pretty much any music you hear on this channel is from Artlist. They also just introduced stems, which is a really cool feature allowing you to basically deconstruct a song and just pick and choose which parts you like from it. If you're editing on Premiere, they even just introduced a brand new extension that gives you the full Artlist library in Premiere. And now with AI search, you can basically just describe your video in the search bar, whether that's a mood or video idea, hit search, and Artlist AI will find the perfect song for whatever video you're creating. Like I said, in addition to music, they have a bunch of super high quality stock footage, and you've probably already seen a bunch in this video. You can search for that with their AI search function as well, and filter for composition, lighting, and mood. The next new update is called Artboard, and it's probably the thing I'm most excited about. Basically, you just describe your project, and Artlist will spit out music, sound effects, and footage that matches your vision. As you can see, it's really just an all-in-one platform to make your videos better. If you're watching this video after November 19th, they are running their only sale of the year, which gets you 2 free months plus 10% off the max subscription when you use the link down below. So if you want to give it a try, just hit that link. Thank you, Artlist, for sponsoring this, and now back to the video. All right, so number 3 is related to finding your niche, which is super, super important here on YouTube. Now, people come to YouTube for one of two things. They either want to be entertained or they want to learn something. In general, I'm kind of a more introverted person and don't really like being the center of attention, so I would not be a good creator to make Mr. Beast style videos. So from the beginning, it was pretty apparent kind of which side that I would lean to. And there's obviously a little bit of overlap. I try to keep all my teaching videos entertaining as well, but I knew I should lean more towards that direction. One of the quotes for the past few years I've constantly had rolling around in my head is actually from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's just be useful. That quote has helped him achieve so many of the things in his life, and I've always just kept it in the back of my mind, especially here on YouTube. So when I dove headfirst into YouTube, that's what I set out to be. Back then, that was kind of the era of the 3-minute travel film where you just throw an Odessa song and just a bunch of really cool travel clips together. And I enjoyed making videos like that, but the market was so saturated. I had to find something different. Back in 2018, 2019, when I first started flying FPV drones, there were very few people on YouTube making FPV content in the filmmaking side of things. There were quite a few YouTubers like ripping abandoned buildings and doing very technical FPV type stuff, but no one who just focused on getting cool shots with them. This was back in the day before DJI entered the market and everything was just way more complicated. You kind of had to build your own drone. And when you were flying analog, which basically means you couldn't like see anything out of your goggles except just like a staticky TV screen. And being that there wasn't any content in that niche, and I kind of just figured that it would grow over time, I started making FPV videos. And my goal was to be useful. Help people learn how to build FPV drones, how to film with them, and so on and so forth. Some of them were tutorials and some of them were just like cinematic FPV videos of the places I was visiting. But I mainly focused on the education side of things, and that's really where my channel started to take off. So when you are picking a niche, and this can be any niche on earth, just be a little bit analytical about it and look for gaps and just kind of see how you can serve the market. And at the end of the day, just be useful. Now, this next one is something that I wasn't sure if I wanted to add into this video because it's a little bit different than a lot of the other points that I'm talking about. And I really didn't learn it until the last couple of years, but it is something that's helped me a ton, so I thought I'd throw it in. And that is to have the title and the thumbnail of your video in mind before you even shoot the video. It sounds a bit backwards, and that's kind of what I thought when I first heard it, but it has helped me so much. Because at the end of the day, people don't click on your video because it's an amazing video. They have no clue what the video is. They click on it because the title and the thumbnail. You can have the most amazing video in the world, but have a shitty title, shitty thumbnail, and it's not gonna get any views. So whenever I'm thinking of a video concept, I have the exact title and the exact thumbnail in my head before I even start. Now, it takes a while to learn what thumbnails and what titles will work, but if you're posting consistently and improving and learning, you'll learn it pretty quickly. Another thing you can do is just look up other people's videos in your niche and see what they did. You can get a ton of inspiration really easily and then just do your own spin on it. The next thing that I want to talk about, which is super, super important, is to constantly try new things. No matter how long you've been doing it, you have no idea what will work on YouTube and what won't. Some of the videos that I think will do absolutely amazing get no views at all. And on the other hand, videos that I just randomly put out will get a ton of views. A good example of this is a video format that I tried out about 1.5 years ago, where I literally just put a camera on myself and then flew my FPV drone and just kind of commentated on the flight. And this video was so easy to make. Most of my videos prior to this were pretty highly produced and with like a bunch of editing and a bunch of time put into them. So I really didn't think it would do well at all. Funny enough, I had literally just released a video that took me like multiple days to edit and just all this time to put together. And it was basically a cinematic video that I filmed at the volcanic eruption in Iceland in 2023. And I thought that video would get a lot of views, but it didn't. So I kind of figured this other version wouldn't get any views either. It took me like half an hour to make, so I posted it on my channel and it kind of blew up. I was kind of confused why it was doing so well, but again, no matter how long you've been doing this, you have no clue how things will perform until they're out in the world. So I started making more of these and they kept getting a bunch of views, and it's become one of my most popular formats of video on my channel. This brings me to my next point, which is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Once I realized that video format did well with my subscribers and people enjoyed it, I just kept making more of them. I made some in Iceland, Hawaii, Arizona, Colorado, and plan on making a bunch more. Another example of this is range tests. In 2020, I went out and did a range test of my Mavic Air 2, and again, didn't think it would do very well, but it ended up getting a ton of views. It was super easy and fun to film, so now whenever I get a new drone, I just go out and do a range test, and they still to this day just get a bunch of views. This concept seems so obvious, but for some reason, people just don't do it. Maybe it's just because they think they've made that video before on their channel, so want the next one to be different. But people are watching the videos for a reason, and at the end of the day, you gotta give the people what they want. All right, so the last thing that I want to talk about is something that kind of relates to this last point, and that is to not worry about perfection. Even if something isn't perfect in your mind, just post it. I've had this happen several times throughout the years where I was working on a video and just something wasn't perfect about it, so I ended up just kind of abandoning it and not posting it. But luckily I've learned to get over this because it is so much better to have something out there in the world existing rather than just collecting dust on a hard drive, even if it's not perfect. I've seen this so many times throughout the years where friends of mine will like show me videos that they've done and I'm like, holy shit, that video is so sick. Why have you not posted it? And they'll give some reason why it's not done, and then they'll just never end up posting it. If this is you, freaking post that video. Odds are nobody is gonna recognize any of the mistakes that you think are in there. And on YouTube, you are always one video away from completely blowing up your channel and really changing your life. And the video that's sitting there collecting dust on your hard drive might just be that video. And at the end of the day, nothing is perfect. So post that shit. All right, so let's recap here. Pick something that you love, be consistent, be strategic about your niche, have your title and thumbnail in mind before you make the video, try new things. If something is working, don't fix it, and try not to focus on perfection. YouTube has completely changed my life, and honestly, my only hope with this video is that one of you guys takes some of the advice that I've given today and someday passes me in subscribers. Or if you've already passed me in subscribers, I don't know why you're watching this video. I'm just a normal, everyday person, and I was able to do it, so I know that you can do it too. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.